Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is Monday, day 210, October the 2nd, 2017. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, last week I started a new thing on Mondays called my Dumbass of the Week segment. Very tough decision this week on Dumbass of the Week, but I finally settled on this one. Now, many of you know, have heard that Melania Trump is involved in this deal where she's getting involved with this National Day of Reading for, I think it's geared toward elementary school students to try to get them encouraged to do more reading from books. And so she decided that she would give a gift to quite a few elementary schools across the country in support of this idea to get more kids reading in elementary school, get them reading books. So she sends 10 books to these elementary schools, or notifies these schools that they've been selected to receive these books from Melania. So one of these schools, the librarian there, whose name is Liz Phipps Suero, the librarian there is notified that she's going to be on the list of elementary schools to receive these books from Melania. Now, the books that Melania chose was, of course, the classic Dr. Seuss book series, which I'm sure we all read Dr. Seuss. Loved Dr. Seuss. They were great. I remember reading them when I was a kid. They were very entertaining, and we'd read them over and over again. And I assumed that they still read Dr. Seuss books. So Melania Trump thought that Dr. Seuss would be a really good book for these elementary kids to read. And so she notified this librarian, along with several others who would be receiving these gifts from her, that they would be receiving these 10 books, which I think include, of course, The Cat in the Hat. Now, in this particular case, this librarian, who we now find out and learn later was a diehard Rotten Reverend Clinton supporter, notifies Melania that she would not be accepting the gift, the books. She said she would not be accepting them because the Dr. Seuss books were, quote, steeped in racist propaganda, unquote. That's absolutely rude and disgusting. Rude and disgusting. Shows you how nasty these liberals are. You want to know how nasty they are? This is how nasty they are. That is really, really nasty. Because Melania, let's face it, she's a very nice lady. She just doesn't seem to have a mean bone in her body. And she's just trying to do something good. And she gets this kind of treatment. This is just horrible. It's disgusting. But the reason I selected Liz Phipps Suero as our dumbass of the week is because some resourceful radio talk show host discovered a photo of Liz Phipps Suero, the librarian from this elementary school. A recent photo where she is dressed in a Dr. Seuss costume. She's got the hat, the red and white striped stockings, the whole 9 yards. And in one hand, she's holding a Cat in the Hat doll, and in the other hand, she's holding a Dr. Seuss Cat in the Hat book. And she's smiling big for the camera. So there you go. Caught red-handed is a hypocrite and a liar. What would you expect from a Rotten Reverend supporter? This is exactly what you would expect from a supporter of the Rotten Reverend. What a nasty, mean lady. Don't know who runs that particular school, but they should fire Liz Phipps Suero. She should never be a librarian in a school again. She's horrible, and she is our dumbass of the week. Just Google her and take a look at that picture. Liz Phipps Suero, S-O-E-I-R-O. Google that name, and you will see that pic, that recent pic of her in her Dr. Seuss outfit. And now she's rejecting Dr. Seuss books because she says they're racist. Why? Because they came from Melania Trump. Had the Rotten Reverend sent her Dr. Seuss books, she would be probably crying with glee and thanking the rotten reverend. It's exactly what she would be doing, and we all know it. That's what makes this so disgusting and horrible. Jason Chaffetz, who I'm not a big fan of, because he was one of the heads of the committee that covered up the Extortion 17, which I covered in 2 videos. He was one of the key members of the committee that covered up Extortion 17. He knows all about it because the attorney and the star witness approached him personally there at the hearings in Congress, in D.C., in the chamber, approached him personally and laid out the entire thing with the star witness right there explaining it to him. He still continued the cover-up. He's a grandstanding sellout. But he was having a conversation with Jeanine Pirro. Judge Jeanine, who's a fiery little woman. And she's having this conversation with him, and some of you have seen the YouTube video, where he basically tells her that just before he resigned his position in Congress, he had a meeting with the Attorney General, the eager beaver, the overachiever, Jeff Sessions. And he says that Sessions told him, when he was pressing Sessions on all the crimes of the previous administration, including the rotten reverend, Sessions told him he had no intention of prosecuting or investigating any of the crimes from the Obama administration or of the rotten reverend, of her emails, of the pay-for-play at the Clinton Foundation. He's not interested in the obstruction of justice by Comey. He's not interested in the obstruction of justice by Loretta Lynch. He's not interested in the illegal surveillance, in the deep state coup. And you can only wonder what in the world is going on. You know, years ago we used to hear this, going back, back into the 1920s, 1930s, people used to talk about the shadow government. Then in the 70s, the term became the secret government. I do believe that Bill Moyers did a very good documentary on the secret government. And he's a lefty. Now we use the term deep state. But whether you say shadow government, secret government, or deep state, we're talking about the same thing, the embedded establishment. The question is, for all of us, we elected our first citizen president who we know's clean. He appointed his own attorney general, the eager beaver, the overachiever, Jeff Sessions. He appointed his own FBI director, no shit Sherlock Ray. He's putting his own people there throughout the government. Yet, we find out that even after all that, and even after Jeff Sessions attended those rallies with Trump back in the summer during the campaign, where he heard people chanting, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. And now we find out that he's Attorney General. He has no interest in doing any of it. You cannot be the Attorney General if you're not willing to prosecute crime and uphold equal justice under the law for everyone equally. So what's going on? You can only conclude at this point that maybe the president, the Congress, and all the bureaucrats that they appoint are not running the government. They are not running the government. There are people, powerful people, behind the curtain, pulling the strings. And no matter who you put in there, it will not change a thing. Because the people who actually make the decisions are not people who run for elections. We don't even know who they are. We don't even know their names. They don't run for elections. They don't serve in the bureaucracies. So who are they? What are they? People say it's the establishment. But isn't Attorney General the head of the Department of Justice? Can he not fire anyone there? Can he not demand that they go forward with whatever investigation he wants them to go forward with? Doesn't he make the calls? It appears that when James Comey was FBI director, he made all the calls. He decided himself during the rotten Reverend email investigation to become judge, jury, and I wouldn't say the execution, because he didn't do the execution. But as FBI director, after Loretta Lynch had stepped down, he made the decision that there wouldn't be a prosecution. That wasn't his choice to make. His role was to do the investigation, which we know he did not do. We know that he exonerated Clinton 2 times before he even interviewed 17 of the witnesses and the Rotten Reverend herself. Then he came out and gave a speech where he laid out all of her crimes and then said no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute the Rotten Reverend. That wasn't his call to make. It's not his job to decide whether or not they prosecute the case. His job is to do the investigation, come up with all the evidence, to present that to the Attorney General, and then to let the Justice Department decide whether or not to prosecute the case. But he made himself FBI Director and Attorney General, deciding everything. He decided he was God. That's what Comey did. So you wonder why Christopher Wray can't do the same. Why Attorney General Sessions cannot do the same. Why can't even the president pick up the phone and say, Jeff, I want you to prosecute the damn Clinton Foundation. Investigate it. I want a special prosecutor. Doesn't appear we're wondering why there's no special prosecutor. That's why. Something's going on here. Some people say, well, Jeff Sessions must have something in his closet. They're blackmailing him. I don't really know about that. I don't really know what, I don't think Sessions is dirty. I don't think he's some sort of crazy criminal that's got a bunch of stuff in his closet and can be blackmailed. I don't even think it's that. I think it's something much, much deeper and more dangerous than that. But we are running out of options. Now, I think all this is going to lead to an extraordinary event in the fall of 2018 when we have the midterm elections. I think a lot of establishment candidates will be thrown out. I think we will get some much better people in there. And I think we'll be trying to send the same message. But what happens if nothing still changes? Well, at some point, when the government and the agencies like the FBI and the Department of Justice, who are charged with upholding the law and prosecuting the crime, when they decide that they are no longer going to prosecute the crime equally under the law, they leave us, the citizens, no choice but to take justice into our own hands and bring about justice to the criminals ourselves. So you can have it one way or you can have it the other way, Mr. Sessions. Prosecute the damn crimes, or maybe we will. Catalonia. Don't know if you guys have been following what's been going on in Spain, but Catalonia for a long time has been talking about this referendum. Well, it finally got up to a couple days before this referendum, and then the government in Spain, realizing that it was going to be a huge success for the Catalonians in that referendum, decided that they would say that it wasn't going to be legal if they did it, and that it wouldn't be recognized. Catalonia wants to split from Spain because they're really unhappy about the migration policy being forced on them. Keep in mind, Catalonia is like where all the money is. It's where all the wealth is. It's where all the beauty is in Spain. It's the sweet spot in Spain. And they've decided they've had enough. And they've decided that they want to separate and have their own version of Brexit in Catalonia. A Catalexit, you might call it. Well, once they decided to go ahead with this referendum, the head of the government in Spain decided, well, if that's what you're going to do, then we're going to go ahead and prevent it. So he sent out the Gestapo, and they began the beatdowns. There have been over 400, last check, people hospitalized because of beatdowns by the Spanish police. They attempted to close the voting booths. They arrested the politicians and the people whose voices are the loudest in support of Catalonia leaving their relationship with Spain and setting up their own country, separated from Spain. And this has now turned into complete chaos. So Catalonia and Spain are now in a complete state of chaos.
It's massive riots in the streets, police beating down these Catalonians. They actually went ahead and did manage to keep enough voting places open that people did get to vote. And of course, the Catalonians voted 89%. 89% to leave their association with Spain. They want to be their own country, separate from Spain. The vote was successful, but unfortunately the government of Spain is saying no way, it's not going to stand, it's illegal. Now we can assume that Catalonia will have no support whatsoever. I don't think the United States establishment is going to support that. I know the EU certainly won't. They won't get any help from their friends in the UK. They won't get any help from their friends in Ireland. They'll get no help from their friends in Sweden, Finland, or Norway, Denmark, or France. No, 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 no. No help for the Catalonians. They're going to be on their own. And I don't know what lengths they'll go to fight this thing out. But this is not going to end quickly, nor is it going to end very well. It's going to be very, very ugly. And it's a sad thing to see. But that's what's happening. And now the leader of Catalonia says that he will declare, in fact. And in fact, I think they're trying to find him and arrest him. But if they don't get their hands on him, he said in 48 hours they are going to declare their independence from Spain. Now, 48 hours will be probably about the same time that you're viewing this video. There are like 16 hours, I think, off from us. So, yeah, so sometime Monday evening, I guess, would be the time when the president of Catalonia is going to stand up and declare their independence from Spain. In which case, the fact that all hell is already breaking loose there, it's really going to cut loose. It's going to be very, very ugly. I don't see how this thing ends well. And I'll tell you, there are rumblings going on right now in Austria in a similar situation. Austria, of course, is part of Germany. But Austria is fed up as well with the migrant policy of the EU. And there's rumblings there that they want to have a separation. There's also rumblings in Poland that they are fed up with the migrant policy. And we already know about those Eastern Bloc countries who built their walls, who are refusing to go along with the EU migrant policy. This is going to be the beginning of the end for the EU, as the dominoes will begin to collapse. Unfortunately, this is not going to happen quickly. This is going to take a very long time to unwind, and it's going to be very, very ugly. Lots of bloodshed, lots of chaos. And it's really remarkable because when they created the EU, the number one reason that they used to create the European Union was that they said, we're tired of all these European wars. By becoming one unit in Europe, there'll be no more wars of France versus Germany, England versus Germany, France versus Norway. There'll be no more of these wars of European countries fighting within one another because we'll all belong to the same bloc. But what they've done is the very thing that they've done, and they also wanted to prevent a rise of a country like Germany with a fascist like Hitler again. But look what's happened. Who runs the EU? Who is the most powerful country in the EU? Who imposes their will on the rest of Europe? Germany. And now look what they're doing. This policy of migration and everything else that they're doing in the EU is actually what's going to cause not just countries to fight against one another, but countries within themselves to become divided, to split, to erupt in civil war and revolution. You're going to have hot spots all over Europe. It's going to spread like a brush fire. It will become out of control, and the EU has no way that they can control it once it takes off. And you can see it's beginning. I believe that the first shot fired was the Brexit. I believe that the Brexit vote was historic. Obviously, the campaign of Marine Le Pen in France wasn't successful, nor was the campaign of, Hofer in Austria, nor the campaign of our good friend there in the Netherlands, but Geert Wilders. But in all these places, you can see what's happening. You can now see in Poland that they are rejecting it. We've talked a lot about the Eastern Bloc, former Eastern Bloc countries rejecting the EU migration policy. We can see all these things, and we can see the earth shaking all throughout Europe. It's going to continue. It's going to get worse. It's going to get much, much worse. Hopefully at the end of it all, there won't be too much bloodshed, too many lives lost. And hopefully at the end of it all, those countries will go back to being sovereign nations. And maybe they'll have a chance at getting their countries back. It's their last chance. Trump fired Tom Price, and he should have. His corruption and abuse and taking these private flights. Still nothing on the level of what we saw during the Obama administration or even Pelosi herself. We know all about her little private military flights. That was a story a couple years back. The difference between Obama and Trump is that Trump actually, instead of doing what Obama or the Rotten Reverend would do, which is defend the criminal, Trump said, hey, he was a good man, but what he did is unexcusable. You're fired. That's why we like Trump. He fired him, and he should have. Probably not a bad man, but let's face it, he made a horrible decision. You can't abuse taxpayer money that way. And he should have known, working for Trump, that Trump's not going to put up with that. So Trump fired Tom Price. The only thing I would suggest now is that Trump should fire Sessions, Attorney General Sessions. Of course, the question we just asked earlier, would it matter? Kelly Ward, of course, as you know, is challenging Jeff the Flake in Arizona. And as I've told you, she's average. She's kind of lackluster. She's not a great candidate, but she's a hell of a lot better than Jeff Flake. But she made a great statement at a campaign speech, or not a campaign speech, but at a speech she was giving. I don't know if they started campaigning yet. I guess you could call it a campaign speech, but she made a speech, and she was making a speech, and she made a statement that just nailed it right on the head, and it gives me some hope for Dr. Kelly Ward in Arizona. Tells me she gets it a little bit. She said that Jeff the Flake is an open borders, pro-amnesty globalist. Open borders, pro-amnesty globalist. True. Very true. Very good to hear those words. Those are phrases that every challenger to every establishment Republican should be using. Every challenger to every establishment Republican should be using the terms open borders, pro-amnesty, and globalist. Those are winning words. Those words will defeat people like Paul, Big Ears Ryan, and all their friends, including Kevin McCarthy. Let's not forget about him. 80% will watch less football, according to a new poll. Get this, 53% will support Trump more. Now, if Trump only has between 45 and 48% approval ratings, and we know that maybe 35% of that is hard, solid support, and 10% is probably mediocre support, the fact that there's 53% say that they will support Trump more tells you that Lincoln Chains was absolutely correct. That Trump's strategy was to play into that 70%. And it looks like that strategy has worked because according to this poll, he's picked up 7 or 8% of people who likely did not even vote for him, probably didn't like him. Maybe some of them are Democrats. But 53%, where did they come from? Because if he only has 45 to 48% approval, where are these other 7, 8, 10% of people coming from? They have to be coming from independents or Democrats who did not support him in the first place. So he has, in fact, picked up support by the position he took on himself versus the NFL kneelers. 80% will watch less football. 53% will support Trump more. Wow. Assange doubles down, and he will give proof that the Russian narrative is false in exchange for a pardon. So Julian Assange is coming out again and reminding us that he's got the evidence to prove that the Russian narrative is a fraud, and that he'll prove it, and he'll do so in exchange for a pardon. Now, Sweden has dropped the charges. Really, It's just the United States now that really has the problem with him and why he's still locked up in the Ecuadorian embassy in the UK. Now, of course, we just learned recently that President Trump did not even hear about Rohrabacher's meeting with Assange, the deal that Assange wants to make. Rohrabacher called Trump's chief of staff, the man who's supposed to handle his business, to arrange so that he could have a conversation with Trump so that he could talk about this. And of course, he didn't get the meeting. Not only that, but Kelly did not even give Trump the message that Rohrabacher called and wanted to set up the meeting, or didn't even tell him that Assange has got this proof. Why doesn't General Kelly, Trump's chief of staff, want to destroy the Russian narrative? Why doesn't he want to destroy the Russian narrative? Why will he not even allow Trump to even know about all of this? What's going on? Are they keeping Trump from having internet? Are they keeping Trump from getting information? What exactly is going on? I wish he would get rid of General Kelly and McMaster. I really wish he would. I told you that Anthony Weiner would try to get out of his prison sentence. He got 21 months, but he wants to go to a Holiday Inn. He doesn't want to go to the regular prison population because, quote, he believes he will get a beat down for being a pedophile. Of course, pedophiles do not do very well in the general population prison. They don't like pedophiles for some reason. Remember Jeffrey Dahmer? They beat him to death in prison. Happens to a lot of pedophiles, and the Anthony Weiner knows that that's probably what's in store for him. Now, I would assume that they would give him special security, but I don't expect that he should be able to go to the Holiday Inn. But that's what he's pushing for. That's why I said we'll have to watch very carefully, because this could get tricky. Now, if there's anyone watching our video, this video right now, and you're in New York, or know anything about what's going on with the prison system there, it was our understanding that Weiner would go to a correctional facility somewhere in New York or Connecticut. Now, it appears in a later story that that was going to take place at a facility in Brooklyn. Now, I'm not familiar with Brooklyn, New York, so if you're watching this video and you're familiar with Brooklyn, New York, could you please fill us in the comments section on what prison or what correctional facility is in Brooklyn where Anthony Weiner is going to be going, where he should be going? Now, we'll keep watching this story to make sure that he doesn't get the deal, that he doesn't get the Holiday Inn suite, and then end up getting early release on top of that. Let's make sure that he does time like every other criminal. And he should be joined in that cell by Mr. Comey, the Rotten Reverend, Loretta Lynch, Ben Rhodes, Susan Rice, Samantha Power, and Barack Obama. I did a video a few weeks back where I laid out the bio on Jesse Jackson, and I explained to you that he's a shakedown artist. He's a shakedown artist. Well, we can guess who Jesse Jackson's next shakedown target is going to be. He made a comment, because he just can't keep his mouth shut, and he said that Trump's NFL statements show, quote, the slave master servant mentality. It's the only line he's got. He's been using it for years, and why shouldn't he? He's made millions and millions of dollars with that line. So you can bet that the Reverend Jackson, his next target will be the NFL. You can bet on that. Just as soon as they capitulate, the very next thing Jesse will do was go shake down the NFL, and they'll pay him off. He's probably already shaken them down before. Okay, as I said in the beginning of the video, it was very tough this week deciding on who would be the dumbass of the week. Now, I think I made the right decision on the librarian, Liz Phipps Serrero, for rejecting Melania's gift of the Dr. Seuss books, saying they were racist, despite the fact that she just recently dressed in a Dr. Seuss outfit with a big smile on her face, holding a Cat in the Hat doll and a Dr. Seuss Cat in the Hat book. She is clearly the dumbass of the week. But boy, I'll tell you what, a close second is the one and only Nancy Pelosi. She was on with Upchuck Todd, and she told Upchuck Todd that the Democrats are winning. and they are 100% united. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, Nancy Pelosi, she actually believes this shit. Now, I know you're thinking no, but we just saw her on stage get booed off stage by all them left-wingers, all those dreamers that called her a liar and ran her off the stage. Certainly that woke her up. No way. No way. She's far too gone, folks, to ever be able... She's not capable of being awakened. It isn't possible. She's way beyond that. You would think that losing over 1,000 seats, Democratic seats over the past 4 election cycles would wake her up. You would think that what happened to the rotten reverend would wake her up. You would think that all that hate mail from the Bernie bros might wake her up. Apparently not. She'll never be able to wake up because she just told Upchuck Todd that the Democrats are winning and are 100% unified. And she really believes this shit. I know you think she doesn't, that she's just lying. No, no, no. She really believes this. And after they get their butts spanked in 2018, which is extraordinary because of how bad the Republicans are, but it'll probably still happen, and when they get their butts kicked in 2020, she'll still be telling you that the Democrats are winning and that they are 100% unified. One final note. I have been doing TowerGate videos now for 210 consecutive days. I have missed 2 videos because, not because I didn't make the videos, but because YouTube upload went down and the videos did not get uploaded, but I did make the videos. But on Tuesday, tomorrow, I will not be doing a YouTube video for the simple reason I will not be home. We are getting new scanner devices, a new scanning system for scanning our products at work before we ship them. And all the team leaders have to go up to Columbus, about 3 hours north of here, to go for a 2-day training session. So tomorrow morning, I will be heading to Columbus. We'll be staying the night there and then coming back Tuesday sometime after dinner. So I will not even be here tomorrow night to do a video for upload on Tuesday. So there will be no Tuesday TowerGate video, unfortunately. I do apologize. It's a bummer because I've had this streak going for 210 straight TowerGate video days. But unfortunately, I have no choice in the matter, so I will not be here to do the video, so I will not be doing a video, so there will not be a Tuesday TowerGate video. I do apologize, but I do thank you all for tuning in, and I will be doing plenty of research up there, though. I'll have my laptop, and I'll have plenty of topics for Wednesday and the rest of the week, so we'll certainly get caught up on it. I appreciate you all tuning in, sharing the videos, giving me thumbs up, and things like that. Definitely appreciate all the comments that you make in the comment section. I try to read them all and respond to them, and keep doing that, and I'll look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Good night, everybody. Be safe.